All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Alpha Beta Gold Games, Episode 4. I'm Cameron James. With me, as always, is just Matt and Alex Morales. What's going on?
So, what's going on?
I see you're platinuming Last of Us. I say that's what you're doing.
I did. Well, that's not. I'm not in progress. I'm done as of yesterday around 2:30. I finished.
How the hell did you do it that fast?
Because I started fucking as soon as I finished the game last week. I think Sunday morning I just started doing it again, and it's not as hard as either one of you might think it is, and it wasn't even really that time consuming because all you have to do is just the hardest thing is just finding all the collectibles. But thanks to my my favorite trophy hunter YouTuber out there, Power Picks, there's just a guide for each and every chapter that shows you exactly where everything is. So it's really not hard. And you just play through it on New Game. You play through it on New Game Plus, so you have all your weapons that are already upgraded, and you just play through it on the easiest difficulty and collect all the shit and just blow through it.
You beat the game twice, then.
I didn't technically have to. I got to the very last part. Just because this isn't spoilers anymore. I got to the sort of the last chapter. There was one collectible there. I made a beeline for it, and then that was basically it. So yeah.
Alex, are you still working on it or no? You're muted.
Yeah, I'm still working on it. I think I'm on day one of Seattle.
The first day one, right?
Yes, the first day one.
Day one, not day one,
yeah.
day two.
Yeah.
Day two, day one.
The original day one.
I'm still hacking away at freaking Dishonored slowly. I realize by the time I get that game done, Ghost is going to be out.
Yeah, well, if you even get that far.
Yeah, I mean, I the more and more I think about that, I'm definitely going to wait for the reviews for Ghost. I know they come out, like we said, on Tuesday. The review embargo gets lifted, but I know you're gun-ho on it already. I
already pre-ordered it. It's already sitting on my PlayStation just waiting to be executed. So
I was actually surprised how small it was.
I mean, it doesn't have to be. I guess we're just all so convinced or just jaded with games these days because they're all so big. Like Last of Us, I think, is 80 or something. I think they said originally it was going to be about 100, and it didn't end up being that much. But no, I mean, I thought when Sekiro first came out, I thought it was going to be a big game. That was maybe 19 gigabytes. It was really not a big game at all. So this doesn't surprise me. I mean, it's cool. I can take a 35 gigabyte game.
So are you on a break then until that comes out? Or are you still playing? What were you playing last week? Minecraft Dungeons.
I'm still farting around on that. It's actually on my TV right in front of me. I stopped playing it, but it's just kind of sitting there staring at me right now. So I'll pick it back up once we're done. But yeah.
Alex, what are you playing?
I just what's called PlayStation Plus gave us 2K20 and Tomb Raider collection. So I've never played 2K at all ever. So I downloaded that for the first time and then deleted it 10 minutes later.
Awesome. Dude, that's exactly what I hoped you'd say.
I wish those games were like the old games, like you just press like the X button and he shot, and like if you were in the right spot. Yeah. Now you gotta like time it, and it's like it's way over.
I don't know. It was weird, and like I played for like I said, like downloaded, played 10 minutes. I think it was like a game and a half, and I was like, I'm down. I'm deleting this.
Did you start the Tomb Raider?
I have all of them. Like on disc, but I just downloaded them because they're in the basement for my brother's PlayStation, so I'm gonna replay them.
The first one I liked. The second one, Matt and I have a disagreement on.
Well, what do you mean we haven't? I thought we were on the same page. I thought we both hated the shit out of that game.
No, I said I didn't think it was that bad.
I think that game is fucking hot garbage.
First of all, the game is literally Uncharted 2 with
100%.
Like, there's no other way around it.
100%.
And
absolute 100%.
I don't think I played Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
No, I didn't either. It was on sale a couple weeks ago. They were doing some.
Yeah, it was
one of the many PlayStation sales, and I think, but it was weird because you could only get I guess it's the super duper fancy 100% everything all in edition, but it was still like $20. And that's still too much. So I'll wait till Shadow of the Tomb Raider is free, probably sometime within the next year, and then maybe I'll play it. But I did not like Rise of the Tomb Raider. Rise of the Tomb Raider. Hated it.
What do you think, Alex?
I liked. I mean, Honestly, I kind of like the first one. The second one, can't say I disagree. I don't like it, but I didn't love it.
Fuck you.
I mean,
Almost made me spit out my water.
adventure games like that, I kind of just like, they just take me in. So I can't really disagree on either side.
All right.
Because I love part of it and I hate part of it, but I'll give you guys a final verdict once I play it again.
Cool. We'll
All
see
right,
where you
yeah.
end up. We'll see where you end up.
Well, my problem was when I got this, I got like the super definitive edition that had like every DLC, and I was like, I don't want to do half of this stuff, so I just like beelined it the second time I played it just to the end. And honestly, I don't even remember how that game ends. So, and I beat it less than 2 months ago on my journey to see how many games I could beat in the quarantine, which I think my track is at 15 now. 15 games in 4 months.
That's impressive.
It's pathetic. Let's be honest here.
I mean, this is a gaming podcast, so it's okay.
So that's impressive.
All right, fair
cool.
enough. But
Cool.
once again, everybody, this is Why Am I Nerd presents Alphabetic Gold Games, where you can follow us on Instagram at whyamInerd.com and youtube.com as well at a bunch of weird asterisks because we're still not verified and we are indeed working on that. And we're also on Facebook, which is just facebook.com/whyamInerd. So go check that out. You can see the 4th and 1 stuff up there. You can see the Yoda Up comics up there as well. And there is, I believe, right now a new episode of both those shows. Yoda Up Comics is at episode 7 and 4th and 1 is at episode 6. And you can also watch our terrible rewatch on Hero Cinema of 2004's Catwoman, which is really fucking bad. Do not watch that movie. I think I actually fell asleep during it. So
that's probably for the best.
It's dude. First of all, that movie would never be able to get released nowadays with how freaking like sexist that movie is. Let's just put it out there.
Yeah, it's something that belongs in the dumpster. But
I mean, anyway, so I found this topic that I wanted to talk about. It actually came from CBR, and I thought this was pretty interesting. I wanted to see your guys' opinion on this, and they claim Uncharted over The Last of Us as a series. And their quick spark notes of what this article says is The Last of Us 2 delighted critics, but left many fans disappointed for various reasons. Many feel as though the sequel did not do justice to the first game, but Naughty Dog's other famous franchise, Uncharted, has never faced this problem. Many feel the series only continued to get bigger and better. Crucial to its success was the continued development of character relationships across the franchise. The Last of Us abandoned continuity for new characters, which
continuity.
Continuity. Sorry about that. Continuity for new characters, which displeased fans of the first game. Some have argued that The Last of Us was perfect and didn't need a follow-up anyway, but Uncharted keeps things fresh and continues to find new ways to improve on this series. Thoughts on that?
Alex?
I agree with that. I think Matt said it last episode. We didn't need a second Last of Us, but I needed it. I wanted it. I played it, and I liked it. But I do agree that Last of Us is lower tier. Last of Us 2 is lower tier than the Uncharted series, mostly because it's kind of hard to have a fresh adventure in the post-apocalyptic world, or create something new out of that. You're following a story, so they did create a new story, a new journey, and it's easier for the Uncharted series, which is just set in regular world where they could just go in back in time into an adventure that he was doing, or forward in time to another adventure. So I mean, it's you have to really break it down, but I do agree with the article.
Matt?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Alex on this one. I think, and that's not to say that each Uncharted game improved in a lot of ways. It's not to say that all of them were created equally or all of them were good. I didn't, as much as I was, 1 was what it was. It set the tone. 2 is probably still my favorite. 3 was pretty good, but I had some issues with it. And then 4 was pretty good all around. I liked it, but I don't think that The Last of Us 2 really genuinely required a second game. But once I knew that they were making one, I wanted to play it. And I don't think after finishing it now, it was as good as the first one. I think the first one really just was something so crazy good at the time. And this, not to say that I didn't like this game. This game had a lot of really good moments, and just the gameplay was great and so on. But it wasn't as good as the first. The Uncharted series was arguably more consistent. And, I guess it goes back to that topic from a couple weeks ago. What does Naughty Dog do next? Do they do another Uncharted? Do they do another Last of Us? Do they do something totally different? At this point, I want them to just do something different. I don't think they need to make a Last of Us 3. If they want to do an Uncharted, I would favor that more. But I think I would rather just see them do something different. Doesn't have to be original. It could be based off of something pre-existing. I think we'd said, if they did, fucking Disney comes and says, hey, make us a Star Wars game. Cool, great. That'd be awesome, I'm sure. But I want them to just do something that isn't The Last of Us or Uncharted.
Yeah, we had talked about this. Like I said, I think it was actually the first episode. If they make an Uncharted 5, based on how the fourth one ended, without going too spoilery, like you're technically either going with, I guess, like a Tomb Raider type thing. If anyone could put two and two together, what I'm getting at, I don't really know if that's necessary at all, because like you said, we're already playing Tomb Raider. You could do the Nadine and Claudia, right? That's her name, Claudia. But
Chloe. No, Claudia. Claudia is the voice actress. Claudia Black does the voice of Chloe, right?
I got the C right.
Shit.
If that's the case, that's on
like
you.
Now I feel like an idiot.
That's on you to look up. But you already had that with the Uncharted Lost Legacy. So I don't, I agree with you guys. I do think Uncharted has kept, you're right.
Chloe.
So I do think that Uncharted has kept its, core structure. Like if you played Uncharted 3 before Uncharted 1 or 2, you might be a little lost on who the characters are. They definitely expect you to have played the first two. I agree with you, Matt. I had mixed feelings about the third Uncharted as well. For me, the big mixed feeling happens again. I get it, it's a video game, but dude, you're walking on in the desert for 3 days alive with no water, and you have a full shootout, from like the Mummy or something like that. But who knows? Like I said, it'll be interesting to see where Naughty Dog goes from here. And I guess we're all just all kind of looking forward to it. Do I think they need DLC for The Last of Us? Absolutely not.
No.
Like you said, Matt, I think they definitely need to move on.
Well, if you think about the first Last of Us, it was the reason why they put the DLC was because it was during the whole time where Joel is in, he's down. That was just during that time period, which spans, a couple days or weeks, whatever. And it's a lot of flashbacks and stuff. But it all takes place over the course of a couple days, and there's already flashbacks. So if you're going to make some kind of DLC, your DLC might end up being the length of an entire game. Because if you say, well, let's talk about this 1 year before the events of the game, you just have to make an entire game on that. You couldn't just make something that's 2 or 3 hours long. It just doesn't make any sense. It would almost be wasteful at that point. So I'd rather they have just no DLC. Just stop it. We're good.
What I think I heard, and I could be completely wrong on this, I think there's a multiplayer aspect to this of Last of Us 2 supposed to be coming out.
I think it's supposed to be a separate thing, because in the first one they had, I think it was called Factions. And it was fun. It was really fun. I remember playing it in the first one and really enjoyed it. It was actually a really fun kind of multiplayer, just very brutal, just people running around and beating each other with clubs and shotgunning each other. I
didn't play
and
it.
I think you would have loved it. You love brutality. This was just the most brutal multiplayer I think I've ever played.
Was it like Uncharted multiplayer?
It was like that, except still equally as fast paced, but just violent. Just most people going for melee weapons as opposed to guns, and just people hitting each other with machetes and just clubbing each other or just boxing the shit out of each other. But no, I think they said originally there was going to be a multiplayer part of this, and then they decided to cut it off. And I think it's just going to be a separate entity. There's just there'll be a multiplayer based in the Uncharted universe, and it's just a
Last of Us
Factions. Yeah, that's what I meant. And it'll just be a Factions replica. But I don't know.
Hopefully it's
right
free.
Now. Or just super cheap, because I don't want to pay $60 for something like that. So
No, which
No.
I guess that could actually lead us into one of our topics today, which is NBA 2K21. Next gen is $10. I know we talked about this off the show.
$10 more.
$10 more. Sorry, $10 more. I know we talked about this off the show last week about the price increase of video games, and I'm sure we all have our opinions on this. Alex, you want to go first on this one? What do you think about it?
I mean, I see where they're going for. Like, it requires more like things to make a game and whatnot. But like games, like I don't know, like Call of Duty and Fortnite and all that stuff, they have so many micro transactions that make up for all the money that they're spending. So I mean, do they really need all this like $10 increase? Who knows? And that's what I was going to say to you guys last time that I said I had something about it like how much money does someone spend on microtransactions, whether it's like skins or like, I don't know, like upgrade your player or something during a game that makes up for all the money that they're spending in creating the game.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have any opinion on that.
I got plenty.
That was my one take on it that I thought was like, why do you need to upcharge if you already have all these things on the side that make a lot of money?
Oh no, Cameron, you're going to go first because I think what I'll have to say might put the fire out, or at least a little bit on what you got to say. I think we're all kind of split on this one.
Yeah. So here's my thing, and I understand that if anyone has not listened to any of the podcasts before, I can't really read very well, and I also have some sort of weird speech thing where I say words that I think are actual words, but they're not words at all. So I'm going to go ahead and fucking wing this word. Influx. Inflation. Inflation. There you go.
Inflation. Yes, a very, very standard economic principle of inflation. Yeah.
No way. Fuck you.
Well, it is. That's just basic inflation.
Anyway, so I understand that there is the influx in, when it comes to making video games, when it comes to making food or the restaurant industry, which is what I do for my real job, or when it comes to making all these toys that I collect and comics. Like, I get it. Like, the comic price went up from 2 years ago. I think it was $2.99 a comic. Now it's $3.99. So I get the increase. But for the past, since I think they said 13 years, maybe even 14 years when they 15. Increased it. Is it 15?
2005, it went from $49.99 MSRP to $59.99.
Okay, so it's 15 years. That's okay. I get it. It's a big increase, but they've been doing so much more with digital. According to Capcom, they said that 80% of their sales are digital, which I don't know if I necessarily 100% agree on that, but to more fuel to my flame, whatever you want to say. Again, weird things. It's obviously you're saving money on not printing discs, on not printing artwork, on not making these stupid collectible packs that people spend $250 on for some cheap ass statue, which I do have one. That's, a piece of crap. So you're going to make you pay $10 more for something that's digital still when, look, it's more manpower. I get it. I get it that minimum wage is going up, cost of living is going up, but like, what are you going to tell me that in 15 years from now, I'm going to be paying $95, $100 for a fucking video game? Like, I don't care how big the game is. Like, the game does not need to be as big as some of these games are. The developer makes that decision to make a game as big as Assassin's Creed Odyssey. And if you're going to say, well, this game is huge, it took us so much time, it's 100 gig, blah, blah. Dude, that's on you, man. I didn't ask for that. That's your decision, not mine. So.
Okay. And I told you, I think I texted you probably like 2 weeks ago now when this was first hitting the web of this news that the price of the NBA was going to go up and that other developers might be following suit on it. It made me, there was an article that was written and they had interviewed, I don't remember who it was, what outlet, but they had interviewed Sean Layden, the former, head of Sony's PlayStation division. You would recognize a picture of him if you Googled him. You've seen him. He's been doing. It might have been IGN. And they interviewed Sean Layden, and he probably put it into the best perspective for anyone out there who, and this is no offense to either one of you, if you have that anybody who shit their pants and said, what the fuck, I can't afford a $70 game. This is bullshit. He said, you got to look at it like this, that, we've been riding the same wave of pricing for games for 15 years. 15 years we've had the same price pretty much for a video game for 15 years. In that time period, as you were saying, no, it has been. We've been riding the same wave for 15 years. It's been $59.99, 15 years. For the majority of the last 2 days. Yes. That's why choosing to have a game that's $49.99 or $39.99 is totally the price that you charge for a game is entirely up to you. We've all played games over the course of the last 15 years that didn't cost us $60. But generally speaking, $59.99 plus tax. And if you're in other countries, it can be so much more because of import taxes and so on. But he came out and said, if it's like you were starting to say too, Cameron, oh, the prices of eggs have gone up and shit like that. Yes, that happens. That always happens. And you can't just say, oh, well, the price of this has gone up $2. Well, I'm not making any more money than I did. But that's just, cost of living, I guess you would say. It's just inflation. That's naturally going to happen. Prices of things will go up. But during these 15 years, the prices of video games have not gone up past $59.99. Granted, movie tickets have increased dramatically in 15 years. I remember 15 years ago going to a Saturday movie and it cost me about $8 or some shit like that. Now it can cost you $15 just to get a fucking ticket, or almost $20 actually. And then you pay for all the food. So much shit has gone up. Prices of just DVDs and things like that. Everything's gone up. Video games have pretty much stayed the same. The only variable for video games that's really come in has been DLC, or DLC and microtransactions, which I think is totally its own thing. But you can't, Sean Layden's point was that you can't have this much time pass and the development cycle time periods increases on games and the cost of making these games goes up, and you can't feasibly continue to have the same price. Otherwise, you're never going to make any money. So the development of a lot of AAA games, I think they estimated, just because it's relevant, The Last of Us 2, that game cost at least $100 million to make. So you're talking about as much as a big budget movie. And they're still charging the same price for that game as they would have charged 15 years ago. $10 is not that much of an increase. Most people are making more money now than they were 15 years ago. And 15 years ago, I mean, Alex, you were just how old were you 15 years ago? You were like 6? 10. Jesus Christ.
I'm not that young.
I don't know. But like 15 years ago, we were all kids, and we didn't have a ton of money. We didn't have jobs like we do now. We can afford a $10 increase. A $10 increase is not that bad, because you also need to consider, and I think, Cameron, this is probably something you're not even really thinking about. You don't buy nearly as many games as you used to when you were a kid. Kids would just fucking buy games and buy games and buy games. We're all much more choosy about what we buy now. I don't buy every single fucking thing that comes out. Sometimes I say, you know what, I'm going to wait for a sale. So now if a sale is okay, I got to wait till it goes down to 50 or 40 from 70. That's fine. But I'm not buying nearly as many games as I used to. So if I got to pay an extra $10, it's fine. And Cory Barlog, the director for all the God of War games, 2018's God of War, came out and said that he would prefer an initial $10 increase to games if it didn't involve microtransactions. And I agree to that, because I would rather take games costing $70 than there still be microtransactions in games. I would say cut out the microtransactions and make your games $10 or $15 more expensive right out of the gate to cover those extra costs. And I think that would be better. But that's not going to stop microtransactions. That shit's going to happen all the fucking time, because that's just essentially it's just incremental sales. That's money that people are making with little to no effort. Do you think it takes somebody fucking 6 months to make a gun or a skin for Fortnite? No, it probably only takes them a couple days or maybe a week or two to make a skin and then get it in there, and it's fine. That's just an estimate. But does that skin cost $5? No, but they're going to charge $5 for it. And then if 10,000 or 50,000 people buy that skin, they just made a fuck ton of money, and it didn't really cost them that much to do it. So I don't know. I don't think a $10 increase is that bad. I'm not shitting my pants over it. It's like, okay, yeah, I would still prefer their $60, but I also want people to still be able to make games, because otherwise, if they're going to keep charging $60, they might not be able to make games as with such big budgets anymore. People might have to start dialing back what they want to do because they can't fucking afford it.
So
I don't know.
Okay, so here's I'm gonna just say. So you said they had said this Last of Us Part 2 cost about $100 million to make.
Approximately. Let's just estimate $100 million.
So they're selling that game at $60 a pop. So you need to sell 1.6 million copies just to make back your profit.
And I think they've already done.
They sold 4. million.
4 million.
Like,
okay.
Like you don't, I don't agree. I look, and I understand. Okay, if it's you're telling me it's because hardware prices went up, that's fine. But you're not upgrading. Like it's been the Unreal 4 engine for how long? Like
well, I mean, it evolves over time. You don't have to just say, okay, well now it's got to be Unreal 5.
Yeah, but you're not constantly buying necessarily new hardware. So where's the increase of? Is it because of payroll? Okay, fine, I get it. But you're going to tell me that. The Last of Us made freaking obviously 3 times the amount of money just to make that back. I get it. It took 7 years to get that money, but at the end of the day, like Alex said, and like you guys said, like the microtransactions, you're not just going to get rid of that. And microtransactions to me are something that I think are more focused towards kids. Because you have a kid that's like, oh mom, like my friend just got this new skin for my Fortnite character. I look like Spider-Man, and then it's like, well, you can't afford it. Well, little Joey has it and little Tommy has it. It's like, all right, here's fucking $5. Go buy this stupid Spider-Man, skin and shut the fuck up. So I don't necessarily, I don't know why it needs to go up to 70 because you're still going to have the argument is, okay, what happens when Call of Duty comes out and it's the exact same fucking game? It's the same engine. You just literally reskinned it. They talked about it with Resident Evil 3. Resident Evil 3 is the exact same thing as Resident Evil 2. You could arguably say those two games should have been packaged together when they first came out. So that making Resident Evil 3 didn't take them half as long or cost them close as much because it was already probably done. So now you're going to charge $70 for that? First of all, Resident Evil 3 should not have been $60 to fucking begin with. So fuck you.
No, and I completely agree with you. But also, setting the price of your game is entirely up to you. It's not. I mean, that's why. Yeah. Well, Capcom really shit the fucking bed on that one. That game really should not have been. I mean, I paid $60 for Resident Evil 2 because I said, "Wow, this was really cool." But then Resident Evil 3, after seeing it, it's like, okay, no, this really shouldn't have been $60. But this price increase too. NBA 2K, that's EA. EA is making that decision. Any other developer can decide if they want to do that. If a developer wants to charge $70, they can. If a developer wants to charge $80, they can fucking charge $80 for the game. It's entirely up to them. There's nothing that says it has to be at least $60. It cannot be any more than that. It can be whatever the fuck they want. It's depending on how much they want to make versus how much their costs were. It's just business. But there will be plenty of developers out there that say, no, you know what? I don't need to charge more than $60 for my game. Some of them will say, I don't think we need to charge more than $50 for our game. That's going to be it. It's just going to be a matter of who's the greediest motherfucker out there and who really says my game is $70. And if we do not charge $70, we're fucked. EA can shove it up their asses. That new NBA game is not worth $70. I'm sorry. Madden's not worth it. FIFA's not worth it. Any of those fucking sports games they churn out every year is absolute bullshit, and it's not worth $70. It's not worth fucking $30. Sorry. I'm just saying, those games are not worth half the fucking amount of money they charge each year.
I agree with
bullshit.
You. Yeah.
Total bullshit.
Yeah, because think about how many games, too, like that come out. It's like, oh, this game looks great. Okay. And then you see the price tag on it and it's like $40. You're like, oh, that game is obviously not going to be that great. Like you could arguably argue the fact too that price does dictate how well the game is. I think you could easily make an argument about that.
I mean, if I see a game that's coming out and it looks like it's going to be cheaper, that doesn't necessarily make me think, man, this game is going to suck. It just makes me think, okay, why is it so cheap? Let me look at trailers. Let me watch gameplay for it. And then if I see reviews for it and it's, okay, here's this $40 game and people are shitting on it and they're saying it's terrible. Well, then that doesn't necessarily mean A plus B equals C. It's just a lot of other different factors. I mean, I appreciate when I see a game and I say, okay, I'm actually sort of interested in this. Oh, and it's not full price. I don't immediately get scared. It makes me think more about the purchase though. But still, I mean, it's the same side of that. Oh, just because I see a $70 game doesn't mean that I'm thinking, man, this game's going to be good. Because Call of Duty is $70 or $60 every year, and they've got their super ultra mega fucking AC 130 collector's edition, and that shit's like $99.99 or $120, whatever. And I don't think that's worth $120. I think that should be significantly less.
No.
Yeah, it's such a weird thing, but my final point is $70. I don't really give a shit about it because it just especially now in my life, I'm not buying nearly as many games as I used to 5 years ago or 10 years ago. So I'm very choosy with my games. So it just means that I hope I get more value out of my $70. That's my thing. I want it to be worth my $70. As long as it's worth it, we're cool. I don't care. I'll deal. So that's it for me.
All right. Well, there you have it. There's our discussion on price increase. Let us know your thoughts on the comments below. And then another thing I want to talk about, which I think this is crucial when I saw it, and I think it's about time, is Xbox Series X games event confirmed for July 23rd. This article comes from GameSpot. I'm just going to pull a quick clip. It comes from Gabe Gerwin. Microsoft will hold its Xbox first-party game showcase on July 23rd at 9 a.m. Pacific time. The company revealed today, which this article is from July 6th, confirming a previous rumor. This presentation will focus primarily on Xbox Series X games, including the launch title Halo Infinite. However, it's unclear if the stream will focus exclusively on games from its first-party studio, or if it will also include third-party titles. What do you guys think of that, Alex?
Personally, I'm not a big Xbox person or Microsoft, but I am looking forward to see what they say, because I think they have most of their stuff is they're promoting Halo Infinite. They're also talking about the where you can play like Xbox One games on the
Game Pass.
Xbox. Yes, no, not the Game Pass too. When you can play like the
Smart
Xbox
delivery.
One. No, smart delivery too.
Like backwards compatibility.
Backwards compatibility.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they have a lot of talks about that, and I'm actually curious as to what they have to offer compared to PlayStation, because PlayStation hasn't really said much about it.
Matt?
I don't know. Admittedly, I really don't pay too much attention. It's not trying to be that fanboy type personality. I just don't pay too much attention to Xbox news, but I won't watch, any kind of show live for that. I'll kind of tune into the news after that. I've always liked Halo. I like that universe. I haven't played Halo since Halo 3. So I'm dating myself there, but I watched someone play Halo 4. It was okay. I heard Halo 5 was really kind of crap from what I understand. So I'm not really sure what direction Infinite's going, but that's really the only thing that I would be interested in paying attention to, unless they start announcing some new IPs. It's cool, but I don't plan on buying 2 consoles this generation. I didn't do it this generation either. I mean, I have a Switch, but I feel like that's a little different, but I don't know. Could be interesting, but I always like to see good news. And I guess even with, Microsoft talking about it and then PlayStation, I like to hear about backwards compatibility. I think that's something that's been, Microsoft has been pretty consistent with that. They've always been really good with backwards compatibility. I don't think anybody can shit on them for that. They've always been the masters of backwards compatibility. Sony just needs to catch the fuck up and really start spreading the news of what their plan is. If they want to get people in on this next generation and cross over more, they need to really start talking about that. So, I
mean, staying on the topic real fast for Xbox then, which could kind of lead into this, is the thought of Microsoft being interested in buying Batman and Mortal Kombat developer WB Games. Again, this stays with GameSpot from Jeremy Winslow. Quick comment on this is just last month, Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment, WB Games parent company, AT&T, announced its intentions to sell off Warner Media's gaming division. A new report suggests that Microsoft has expressed interest in purchasing WB Games, though the sale is not yet could be confirmed. If they were smart enough to, they would probably, if this goes through, try to keep it as quiet as possible and maybe mention something about it on their Xbox Series X event, because I mean, if they buy, WB Montreal is pretty much what it really is. It definitely makes an interesting situation of what's going to happen with some of those games going forward. If they pick that up, like, is Mortal Kombat now becoming exclusive for Microsoft? Do they say, fuck that? Like, we know we can make a shit ton of money on it anyway. Let's still put it on Switch. Let's still put it on PlayStation. Same with Batman. Obviously, Warner Brothers Montreal's Batman, I don't believe, performed as well as Rocksteady's by any means. Not to say it's a bad game, but, they still have, kind of the fundamentals and the foundation of something like that. So what happens with those types of franchises going forward if Microsoft does make this purchase. You know, I don't know what you guys think about that, but it definitely.
I actually think it's pretty cool if they do pick it up, because there's a lot of like little games that are not big name games that Montreal and Warner Brothers own, that with the backwards compatibility. I butchered that. That
I have to butcher everything I say.
Yeah, no, it could actually be really good for Microsoft, because if they do that, they have all this like library of games that people will be interested into.
But what do you think happens to the games, like a game like Mortal Kombat? Like, can you keep that exclusive on? Of course you can, technically. They can do whatever the fuck they want, and they could keep it exclusively on Microsoft, but think of the amount of money that they would lose if they were too big of dickheads, not like, hey, we're going to put this on PlayStation as well.
That's why I think you answered your own question there. Yeah. I mean, there's always going to be exclusive titles that they're never going to budge on. I don't think, Halo's ever going to be on a PlayStation ever, period. I don't think. I would feel almost dirty. As much as I would like it, would feel dirty playing Halo on a PlayStation. But with a game like a Mortal Kombat or a new Batman game, if you said, hey, we're only, and wow, that just makes me feel shitty, because then I say, okay, well, if you're only going to put your new Batman game on Xbox, that's kind of contradictory, because they have a Spider-Man game that's only on PlayStation. So could they do it? Absolutely. I would think you'd still be alienating an audience, because all the Batman Arkham type games have been across all consoles. I think they're on PC too. I don't know if they're on Switch or not. I don't think so. But if you buy WB Montreal and you say, yeah, this new Batman game they're developing is only going to be available on Microsoft or on an Xbox, it's great for Microsoft, but you're gonna alienate an entire audience. And I think in that case, it might not be so good. I'm not buying an Xbox just to play Batman. No offense, Cameron. I don't know. You might be like, shit, I need to get a fucking Xbox because I am Batman and I need to do this. But I sure as shit would not buy a fucking Xbox just to play the new Batman game. It's not like I bought a PlayStation just to play Spider-Man. I already had it, but I'm not, buying a new console just for one thing.
I mean, I'm going to quote me if I'm wrong. I believe Street Fighter is exclusive to Xbox, isn't it?
No, it's on PlayStation.
What's the? Oh, I'm thinking
it was exclusive for a while, I think, and then it is definitely available on PlayStation.
Killer Instinct is the one I believe that's not.
That is specifically, because that's a Rare. The developer Rare makes that, so they're under the Microsoft Studios umbrella. So, yeah.
I mean, yeah. Again, it'd be interesting to see what happens. Do I think that they're actually going to pull the trigger on that? I mean, I think with a new console coming out this year, I think if you're gonna, this could kind of leeway into our next topic. If you're gonna start spending money where you don't know how your console's gonna do, and you're gonna go drop money on this, hello Sony that just dropped $250 million over at Epic. This is just an updated article over at IGN. Sony acquires minority, which is fucking minority. Hello,
yeah,
I've been majority. Yeah. Stake in Epic for $250 million. Again, this is an updated
investment stake. So
exactly,
definite accent on investment stake. So it's not an ownership stake, just an investment stake. It's still.
But what does that even mean for Sony?
It's not like they bought in and they just said, "Hey, we own." Because at $250 million, Epic is worth. I mean, you can probably. I'm going to Google that real quick and see what their net worth is. But hold on, sorry, I just want to pull this up. I don't want to talk at the same time. Epic's net worth. Fortnite developer Epic Games is estimated to be worth between $15 and $18 billion. So $250 million is really not that much. It's not like they own 10% of the company now. They invested $250 million in this company. It's essentially a partnership. They're trying to see where this goes. Getting new IPs, maybe new hardware, shit like that. So I think it's just more, it's the long game for them. They're not just looking to say, hey, we put $250 million into you guys, now make us some shit that's going to make us money. It's a future. It's just them looking down the line of the next probably 10 years of this console generation to see what Epic Games can do. $250 million is not any amount of money to just, throw your hand up at. It's a lot. But.
I mean, Epic is the guys that create the Unreal Engine.
Fortnite. Yep. And Fortnite. And I mean, But that's I think they said they I mean that's why that engine alone is a huge deal. I mean, we saw what the Unreal 5 looks like. They did that tech demo a month or two ago, and it was a big deal. So no wonder Sony said, "Holy shit, we want to get in on these guys."
So I mean, do you think there could be a point in time where Sony goes more in on it and says, "Fuck you, I want more of this," and the Unreal Engine is not used anywhere but Sony?
I don't think they could do that because so many different developers and companies use Unreal. It's essentially software. It's me having my home computer that has Microsoft Office on it. You don't want to say, well, only specific people can use Unreal 5. I think you should let as many possible people who want to use it to make games. And then if you like that developer so much and they're small, try to buy them out. That's what everybody's been doing recently. Microsoft buys up studios. Sony's been buying up studios. But if Sony were to say, hey, we're going to invest a ridiculous amount of money into you guys, we're going to buy you out, and only people that we want to use Unreal 5 can use it, I think they would probably screw themselves. It would be considered a monopoly too, right? Because they're buying essentially a software they own a piece of software that virtually everybody uses. And now you're saying, well, no, we got to think about that if we want to let you use it. And then I think that's really murky. And I don't know if that would work out very well. So.
I mean, it would definitely be interesting because then you're looking at the fact that, like you said, if they really wanted to get Microsoft out of the equation, and if they really weren't too worried about Nintendo, then there goes Microsoft. It's out of the picture now. Sony essentially is the last man standing.
Well, that's why you either force people to use your engine, or you force people to go make their own engines or use other ones, and then you could drive money away from Unreal 5, but then you could drive money into an engine that Microsoft already has, and then everybody goes to start using that. So I think that's bad for business.
So then, real quick, do you think you could see, because they technically they developed, I'm looking at their stuff now, could you see them putting a Gears of War remaster on PlayStation?
I was thinking muted. What were you saying, Alex?
That would be amazing. That would be amazing. I mean, Gears of War, like I got the Xbox 360 just for that game, for the first one, and I loved it.
Because I know Microsoft published it, but if Epic obviously developed it, and now if maybe, who knows, like, imagine if Sony's like, oh yeah, by the way, launch title for PS5 is Gears of War 1 through 3 remastered. I mean,
I mean, I was never super crazy about Gears of War. I've played 1 through 3. I think that would be a huge bombshell. But I don't know if they could do that because it's technically still, isn't it? I believe it's technically considered a Microsoft property, though. I think they own the rights to it.
I know they published it. Because then it switched studios to Coalition made Gears of War Ultimate Edition. Gears of War Ultimate Edition, they did 4 and 5. I didn't really look into why Epic got rid of that franchise tag, but I don't know, man. That would be I think that would be a huge thing if PlayStation. Do I think it would happen? No, just like I don't think Scalebound is ever going to come back into fucking play.
Fuck that game. That game is never going to be a thing. I don't know if that's in hell right now.
They canceled it like after it was supposed to be. Like, how do you get so far into development in a game and be like, you know what, this is really dumb. Like, we're going to be modern times with dragons, but you still use a bow and arrow, but you're dressed on the streets.
It was Devil May Cry versus Monster Hunter and had a baby, and it was whack. Dude, and then they just destroyed it. That thing was in development for 4 or 5 years, and they said, actually, psych, and then and then no one talked about it after that.
Well, they showed like gameplay of it, and I remember watching the game, and it was like 4 players. I think it was like a 4-player co-op game, and I remember watching this gameplay with Vitaly, and I was like, what in the like maybe someone's like, yo, Game of Thrones is the shit right now. Let's just throw some dragons in the modern times, give you a bow and a sword, and we're going to make a shit ton of money. And eventually they're like, yeah, I don't know. But apparently there was a rumor that someone was trying to pick up that franchise tag, or I guess it would be a franchise tag now, who knows, or that that game tag and bring it back, which I don't even think it's necessary.
Well, that's the hardest part with that too, is if you cancel a game like that, you can buy the intellectual property of Scalebound and the idea, but you don't necessarily get all those assets. So you're starting possibly from the fucking ground up, and it could be a totally different concept.
Because you're essentially you're just buying the name.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like I had to remember what it was. I just pulled it up real fast. When Rockstar North was developing it, remember Agent for PS3?
Oh yeah! Wow, that's never happening either.
No, I mean that game literally just. It's like they put their money into Manhunt instead.
Yeah. No, that game Agent's never happening.
Which, talking about Manhunt right now, so they come out with the first one. Again, this is just way off topic. They come out with the first one in 2003, and you just slaughtered everybody in the most graphic, whatever way it was. In what was that, PS2? PS2. And then they come out with the sequel, and in the sequel, when you go to kill somebody, it goes into black and white. So now you just put out The Last of Us Part 2, which is probably the most brutal, violent game out. You imagine if they just said, hey, here's Manhunt 3 on current gen after what they just did with The Last of Us?
Yeah, it'd be super violent. I would still be running around though, putting plastic bags over people's heads and stuffing them out.
Oh, and watching their head explode.
Yeah, it was the weirdest game ever. And for the time, I remember they almost rated that game AO.
Did they really?
They almost did. I remember, or it was maybe in Australia they rated it AO or some shit. That game was so controversial. I mean, I think the world's ready for it, but I don't think now is the best time to put that
out. I mean,
absolutely not.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when that first came out, I played. I was like, "What?" My friend was like, "Dude, it's the most violent game in the world." And I remember playing it, and I was like, "All right, like this is you're like shivving someone in the neck." And the guy like walked around like a backpack. You're like an ex-convict or some bullshit. I don't know. It was
Isn't he wearing like a hockey mask too?
The cover was.
Yeah.
That was a bad game, but
that was a weird ass game.
Anyway.
So wait, before we move forward, I don't know if we mentioned it, but so I did look into if Microsoft owns the rights to Gears. Yeah, so 2014 they do. They bought it from Epic Games.
Oh,
okay. So that's now.
So
tough luck, Cam. Not happening.
So they must have bought it, and then so they bought all the rights for it.
Yeah, the rights to Gears of War franchise.
Because I know sometimes it's like Taylor Swift is trying to get her CDs back from that guy that bought them, and they get released after 15 years. So, I don't know. I guess my dream won't happen. But again, Gears. I thought the first three were good. After the third one, I thought it kind of went a little south after that.
I only played the first three.
Yeah, the fourth, 4, and 5 were like, not really my thing.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think about games being leaked? Because you had Assassin's Creed Valhalla get leaked 2 weeks ago. Someone leaked it, went down 30 minutes of gameplay. It went down real quick. And then you had the Far Cry leak, which they then ended up revealing like a day later that it was true, which I'm sure they were trying to hold off until today. But I mean, you also had a Crisis leak, which ended up push that game back to where they were like, we're good. But weird enough, they're still releasing, I think, the Switch version on time, but the other consoles, they're not. They're, I guess, back to drawing board on that, if I read that right the other day. So, I mean, how are you such a big-time developer and you let your stuff get leaked like that, including the leaks that happened with, The Last of Us Part 2? I mean, it could definitely affect the game in astronomical ways. Like I said, look at Crisis. Now they're like, hey, we're not releasing this right away. We're gonna wait. Or you have, like I said, the Assassin's Creed Valhalla leak, which from some of the notes that I read on it, apparently it must have been like still in beta mode or whatever, or maybe even alpha, because no pun intended here, because I guess it was there was a lot of glitches in it. Some of the skill menus, I guess, weren't available to look at. but they did show some inventory stuff. I mean, what do you guys think about video game leaking?
Was Valhalla like a? I didn't see the leak for Valhalla. Was that a gameplay?
Yeah, it was 30 minutes of gameplay. It went up and then it went down, and like I guess within someone watched the whole thing, so I'm assuming within an hour they caught it and they've just been taking it down real fast. So if you have the show notes over on IGN, they actually list what everything that they showed on it.
So for me, I think leaks just harm, like even like for movies or just TV shows or anything, it just harms like the perspective of like some viewers or people that are going to buy or purchase things. And it could help the company like Crisis, like go back and fix their mistakes. So I mean, it's double-edged sword.
Yeah, I mean they did it with Crisis. Matt, what do you think? I see you keep muting in and out.
That's why, because I'm just turning on. It's a little hot in this room, so I'm just turning the fan on, and I want it to be blowing like super loud.
You can hear it, you're good.
Okay. Well, there's another fan that I have, but it's much louder. So no, I don't know. Leaks are kind of weird. I think Ubisoft, and even though Ubisoft is Ubisoft and Bungie are like the leakiest fucking ships in terms of their games and stuff. It happens all the fucking time. I don't think they have ever anything super big budget for Ubisoft has ever been announced in the last couple of years without it being previously leaked to some degree with the fucking logo, the assassin logo or whatever. I don't know. I mean,
yeah, but they put that in too.
Yeah, I mean, leaks can generate hype, but I guess it depends on where it is in the development cycle when it's leaking. I mean, I remember with The Last of Us 2, a bunch of shit leaked, and that was bad because that was story shit and just things that they really didn't want people to know. And, you know, now after the fact, realizing that it was all, the leaks were 100% true from what I've come to understand. But I don't know. I think leaks can sometimes be okay, but I feel bad for the developers because you want to announce your thing when you want to announce it, and you want to see that crazy the first reactions of people. I mean, I remember when when God of War wasn't even like leaked. It was, you know, people were speculating that they might have been announcing a new God of War. And then I remember that E3 where they announced it and they had the live band playing and just the reaction, the fucking crowd went wild. But I don't know. I think leaks can be fun, but I also think leaks can really fuck people. But Ubisoft, they're the leakiest ship in the edge. That always happens with them. And nothing's ever a surprise. Oh, you're working on a new Assassin's Creed game? We weren't sure, but we figured you probably were. And that happened with Valhalla like last year. It's like, okay, yeah, we heard a rumor. I heard rumors for years that they were working on a Viking one. And then you saw the first logo and it said, yes, they're definitely working on a Viking one. Oh, they're working on another Watch Dogs? Who would have thought? And then there it is. So I don't know. Ubisoft just leaks all the time.
Because it did lead into a lot of people's speculation with Far Cry 6. Is that it maybe a prequel to Far Cry 3?
Yeah, it looks like the kid might be Voss, but I just want to know how that's going to be integrated. And they're all just saying, oh, it might be Voss because he's got a scar above his eye because no one else could possibly ever have a scar above their eye in the same spot. And it'd be a totally different fucking character. But hey, listen, if it is, cool, that's great. But I don't know, man. I've always had a love-hate relationship with the Far Cry games. I think Far Cry 3 was the last really good one. And they've all been kind of meh since then. So I won't be buying this one right out of the gate. I'm going to wait for a deep sale on that shit.
Yeah, I know Far Cry 5 was should have been good. It should have been good.
Yeah,
you did not need to do the freaking supernatural cult bullshit that they did in that game. They could have easily gotten rid of that and had a really good game. Again, the DLC, the Far Cry New Dawn that came out, I guess a year or two after. Fuck that game. I don't care what anyone says. I beat that game, even though I didn't really beat that game because I didn't want to play the game the way they wanted me to play it. And I didn't want to do all the stupid side quests. I got to the end boss. You're going to tell me, oh, I'm only on tier 2. I got to get to tier 4 weapons just to be able to beat you. Fuck that. Fuck you. You ain't getting my money this time unless it's really good. I don't know.
Yeah, we've had some very lengthy discussions about Far Cry 5, you and me. So that's why Far Cry 6, the trailer looks like, you know, the graphical fidelity of the trailer looks great. Like looking at Gustavo Fring, he looked, for a split second in that initial teaser where he's like smoking the cigar, I was like, is that actually him? And then you see the way his mouth moves, and I'm like, no, that's too uncanny. That's CG, but it looks really fucking good. But remember, the game will look nothing like that shit. So it's not going to look anywhere close to that good, even though it's going to launch on PS5, whatever. It's not going to look that good. But I will wait till when that game is $30, I'll buy it, because there is a certain amount of fun running around in those games and shooting guns and blowing shit up and then like, you know, getting attacked by a bear or some shit. But it looks like this one might take place in a city, which is kind of crazy because these always take place on like an island or like really remote areas. But I think there was the part of the gameplay leak was that it takes place in like a city. So that would be 3 pretty locations. Cool. Yeah. So then that might be just like GTA then. I don't know.
I thought they said it was going to be in an island again.
Mm. It's like
it always takes place in some kind of island. Yeah. So I don't know, but I'm sure as fuck not buying that game day one. Absolutely. And not. I also would not be spending fucking $70 on it too. So I will wait. I will wait for a sale on that, but I will still play it at some point because they do end up being fun, at least to some degree. But
I mean, they definitely it could look like that. I mean, like I said, they had all those screenshots from The Last of Us 2 that ended. You know, a lot of people were like, "This is even in the game. Game isn't like, you know." They were showing the initial trailer and stuff like that, and the initial gameplay. It looked way better than the final product. Look, no one's saying that that's not the final product for it if they were to release it for PS5, because they probably just don't have the engine to be able to do it. Now with the Unreal Engine 5, look, you know that game's getting remastered. Let's just put it out there.
Oh, well, I don't know if it's going to get remastered. They're just going to port it over and it's going to get tweaked up and stuff. I just hope they don't charge you $60 for it like they did this last time. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, what do you think about the fact that, you know, this is from VG247, is that Crysis Remaster will not be delayed for Switch? I know none of us here are really too excited about the game because the game looked terrible. The game was originally amazing on PC. I mean, I remember buying a PC just to be able to play the game because it was so fucking good. And now that they, you know, I guess the best way for me to describe it is when they showed the remastered footage, it looked like something that would work on a Switch. Fine, cool, I get it, but it didn't look like something I would expect to be played on, you know, an Xbox or, you know, PlayStation. So maybe they're going back to the drawing board on that to make it more up to date with what we would expect from a Microsoft PlayStation game. Again, I do think it was okay. It's fine. It's on a Switch. We all know Switch isn't as powerful, but the fact that they got so much heat for it. They delayed it, and then they're like, wait a minute, you know what? If you're a Switch fan, though, you're still getting the game early. And as far as I'm concerned, the last Switch game that came out around the same time, I think it was the same time, was a Bloodstain Curse of the Moon?
Ritual of the Moon. Yeah, Curse of the Moon or Ritual of the Moon, something. And just call it Bloodstain.
The Bloodstain, so for PlayStation, it's really good, but apparently the Switch port is, you know, not port, but the Switch version is awful. And I wanted to play it for Switch because, you know, 2D Metroidvania style game. I like having it on a handheld. I don't really want to see it on a big TV. So the fact that they're going ahead with the Switch version and backing off on the Microsoft and the PlayStation version, to me, is like, the fuck you thinking? Like, what's the mindset behind this?
I don't know. It's going to be bad. I'm just going to say that. I don't think that remake or that remaster is going to come out and it's going to be good. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not even paying attention to it anymore. I think this one's going to go straight to the toilet, unfortunately.
Fair enough. Well, all right. Well,
just saying.
Piggybacking on something that Alex said earlier about backwards compatibility. Is the article from Sony, is which Sony patent suggests PlayStation 1, 2, and 3 could have backwards compatibility via the cloud. This comes from IGN from Jordan Ulliman. A Sony patent has surfaced suggesting that PlayStation 1, 2, and 3 games could be emulated via the cloud. First posted to Twitter by user Renka Schedule. The tweet can be translated into English, at which point it reads, a large number of games titles across PlayStation 1, 2, and 3 and various generations of game consoles can be stored and used via the cloud gaming library. These games can be run on a virtual machine that mimics the operating system associated with each game console. And they showed a drawing, which is kind of strange. But I mean, what do you guys make of this if this is the case? Because technically it's not really a game then, right? It's not really a PlayStation.
I mean, yeah, I remember looking at the image. It's just that's really hard to fucking interpret. But I think what they're trying to suggest is that we're going to be able to do games, or we might be able to do backwards compatibility of games more localized. Or, I don't know. It's really hard. It's almost like what PlayStation Now is, except you don't just stream it from the cloud. You take your own pre-existing game, you boot it up to the cloud, and then you stream it yourself from the cloud. I mean, that's how I understand it. I just don't know if that's going to actually end up being the case. But in theory, it's really fucking cool because there are a lot of games from the PlayStation 1 era that I actually would really want to go back and play. But I just don't know how this all works out. And I think if because patents also don't really mean anything. It's just an idea that you want to have your stamp on, so no one can take that. I guess take it away from you. But I don't know. I like the idea though. I just want them to explain it more. Sony has a really bad habit of saying, "Hey, here's this idea," and then just never really elaborating on it. So,
but is this? I guess my thing is. So, is this cloud then? Like I can play PlayStation on Microsoft? Is it I can play it on my computer, or is it specifically?
No, I think you would need a PlayStation. You would need to be in the PlayStation ecosystem. You'd probably have to have a PS4, or at the very least a PS5, and then you're booting. You take your PlayStation 1 disc for the first Crash Bandicoot, and you put it in, and then it boots it up to a cloud, and then when you want to play it, you have to access the cloud, and then you're streaming it based on your connection. I don't know. That's why it almost sounds like PlayStation Now, but you don't have to necessarily pay for it. I don't know. It's real. It's so general and loose of a patent that it doesn't lend credence to itself. I would like to know more. And I want Sony to explain it. I want to have Mark Cerny come out on stage like he does with the fucking PlayStation 5 and explain in very easy baby terms for me, and I can understand it then. But I don't know. I don't know how it ends up working out, but it could be good.
I agree with you. They should explain it, because the way I'm thinking is like, I don't know if any of you guys have ever played like the Mario games on your PC or your laptop, and like it boots up a screen on the side. I don't know if like the PlayStation 5 is going to do that. Like I think Cameron said
like
that.
An emulator.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. That's yeah. I think that's what it is. It's not going to be you're just popping your PlayStation 1 disc in the system and then you're playing it right off the disc. I don't think that's how it's going to work. There has to be some other media that you're going to be using. There's got to be a middleman to this. It's not just you, the PS5 and your disc. It's got to be PS5, the disc, and some other mechanism in there to make it work. But
well, there was. I know like the original PlayStation 3 could play PlayStation 2 games and might have been able to play PlayStation 1 games, and then they redid it and they put like a new model out, and it couldn't emulate, I guess, the software we're gonna say from the other two systems. So, with the PlayStation Now, why can't they just put these games on it and let you stream it from the PlayStation Now? I mean, granted, am I looking to go back and play PlayStation 1 games? They're probably not easy to play unless they were able to make it where you can use the actual joysticks again. Because at the time, it was just a D-pad. I know
just analog.
Yeah. So I mean, what if someone's coming up with this idea? Why aren't they not just putting these games on the PlayStation Now and charging you $25 and calling it a fucking day? I think the benefit that Microsoft has a little bit is if you do the Microsoft the Game Pass. I mean, if any, quote me if I'm wrong, any exclusive is getting on that Game Pass at launch.
Okay, I don't know. That's why I don't. I don't know. I don't know enough about that But
I believe Gears 5 dropped on Game Pass right away. I believe Shadow of the Tomb Raider 2, it was exclusive. I think it was exclusive to Xbox. It dropped right away.
They do that. They do that with a lot of games, and I don't know if that always ends up. Yeah, they do that with a lot of their first party massive AAA titles. They drop it and they say, yeah, it will be available on Games Pass, and then some other ones I don't think they do. But I don't know how that works with PlayStation with this concept.
I mean, imagine paying $30 a month. Maybe not. Maybe let's I would
definitely not.
Hold on. if they said you could pay $25 a month, $200 a year for PlayStation Now, and you got every single PlayStation exclusive that comes out on day one on this network, would you do it?
Maybe, but you're also banking that I'm going to want to play. That also presupposes that I want to play every PlayStation exclusive that comes out, because there are plenty of them that come out and I just don't have any interest in playing it. So it's a toss up. That's I think that's where the model comes from. You're paying the same amount of money no matter if you're playing one game or if you're playing every single one. So they get their nut no matter what. But it's I don't know. I don't know if I could do a Games Pass kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree with you, man.
So,
yeah. I
say that now, but who knows? That changes in like 6 months, and they're like, "Yeah, it's actually $50, and you don't just get first party titles; you get every title." And I'm like, "Oh my god, I need it!" And then I do it, but I don't know if that's ever going to be the case. It's a lot of money, though. It's like that's a pretty stiff membership to be
$25 a month to get every single PlayStation game.
Yeah, but that's just it. Yeah, so every PlayStation game when it's out. Because you could say, I got 25, but there's also 6 games that I really want to play, but they're all in their development cycles. And when am I going to play them? So I got to wait 3 years. So I spend 3 years worth of $25 payments, and then 1 or 2 of those games finally comes out. And then I get it. I'd rather just pay the fucking $60 or $70 and be done with it. So,
I mean, I guess you could kind of say that what's it called? Gamefly. I remember that.
Gamefly. Yeah.
I mean, that kind of tried to be like, I guess, the Netflix for video games back when it attempted to do its thing. But then I know
still trying.
It's still around.
Still trying. Yeah, for the most part, yeah. To my knowledge, they're still around, but their business model sucks fucking terribly, because they could have 500 copies or 5,000 copies of the game, but if you want to play that game, you got to queue up for that shit. You can't play that game until someone sends their fucking copy back. And then play it. So I think it's a terrible business model now. I mean, it worked for Netflix back in the day because people were still buying that or getting that physical media. They just want to rent a movie and they just want to return it. But now, doesn't necessarily mean that someone's going to buy a brand new game and return it in 2 days. They're going to maybe take their time. And it all depends on how long it takes somebody to finish that game, is when you're waiting in the queue to actually get that game. So fuck it. Just spend the money.
So
wait for a sale.
It's not streaming.
I don't think so. I mean, maybe some of them are, but also that's kind of hard. That Gamefly somehow magically has this streaming service like what Stadia wants to be, where you can stream every single game. I don't think that's the case. I think Gamefly is just physical media. You have to get the disc. I mean, shit. Redbox tried to do game rentals too, and half the time they don't even get their fucking games back. Someone just puts a fake piece of paper in there that looks like the disc. And then someone else goes to rent it, and it's like, what the fuck? And they don't even have the games. So I think it's terrible renting games.
That's a thing?
100%, yes. You could rent games out of Redbox, and then people will literally will scan the face of the disc and then cut it out on their piece of paper and put it back in the case and then return it, and they just keep this stolen game. And then some other poor asshole goes and rents it for $15 or whatever, and then never gets the game.
I mean, I remember back in the day, you used to be able to go to Staples and buy the label maker for the CD. I'm sure someone has an old I probably have an old Blink-182 record around here somewhere. Go rent it, print out, and plop a new cover on it.
It's exactly, yeah. That's exactly, yeah. I don't know.
Not that I would ever do that.
Terrible. But I think still Gamefly charges now. It's $5 or $10 a month. I don't fucking know. I don't pay attention enough
to not even know if you get a game.
Mm-hmm.
I said, yeah, you pay that money, you don't even know if you're going to get it.
No, at least from Redbox. Gamefly, though, fuck it. I'll just buy my game. Sale or when it comes out, I'll get there. I'll just buy it, though.
Which, hey, games have been going on sale real quick recently. I don't know if it's because of this, the pandemic. I don't know if it's because they're hey, we're just trying to get everybody to play our console, because you can get a lot of really good games for, really good prices right now. And it blows my mind, And it's going to be, like I said, after Ghost that comes out this Friday. I mean, I guess the next big thing in everyone's mind that they've really been pushing is Cyberpunk, 2077. For me, you got Kingdom of Amalur coming out
September now, though. September.
Take all the time you want.
No, I know. Listen, I may finally actually really play that game now, but I will also wait to see what the reviews look like. I'm not buying that day one. I know you are like, dude, I bought 2 super fucking $150 collector's editions because I want one to just have and then one to actually use.
I have the original one still sitting in my video game room. I went out of my way just to buy a fucking Xbox 360 to play it, and I haven't played it yet because then I heard that they come out they're remaking it. I'm like, fucking A, and it has DLC.
And there will be DLC, yeah. So there's going to be a whole expansion to it too. So this is finally how this game gets big enough. And then 4 years from now, we're talking about Kingdoms of Amalur 2, and then you're just shitting your pants again. Hey, I know. You're so excited. And
they
happy
also
for you too.
I know. And there's also the Mafia remake coming out too.
Yeah, that could be fun. I just hope it doesn't. It does better than the remake of 2 because I heard the remake of 2 came out and was no bueno.
Was horrible.
Did you
not
play it,
good.
Alex?
Yeah, I did play the remake of Mafia 2. I didn't.
You beat it?
No, I stopped playing
it. Can't say I'm surprised.
Yeah, they didn't do a very good job, and I know there's a lot of gripe too behind Mafia 3 with how that came out. I guess you couldn't fast travel, or you had to drive everywhere, or some bullshit like that.
That game was fucking terrible, and I spent $65 on Mafia 3, and that game was fucking terrible.
Well, here's the hope that the Mafia remake is what is way better than what it already has out now. So once again, this is Why Am I Nerd presents Alpha Beta Gold Games. You can follow us on Instagram at Why Am I Nerd Official, Facebook.com/Why Am I Nerd, and listen to new episodes every Tuesday on your favorite podcast service, and catch new episodes as well on YouTube every Monday at noon at youtube.com/a bunch of weird letters, or just search Why Am I a Nerd and you'll find us there. So anything else you guys want to say before we log on out here for the day?
I'm super excited about Ghost of Tsushima. I hope it doesn't suck.
Wait, that comes out what?
Friday.
When does that come out? Friday.
Very, very much excited. Yeah.
What'd you say?
Well, I'll let you all know.
I don't know if I'm going to pick it up yet.
I'm waiting for that. I'll be on Tuesday.
I'll be the guinea pig. I don't care. I mean, at this point, it doesn't matter. I like samurai games, so if it ends up sucking, it is what it is. It's too late now.
Yeah, I guinea pig rage too. So.
Yeah,
but I am trying to get my lovely other half to buy me Vigor, the game I sent you guys on Switch.
Vigor,
Viagra.
Vigor.
Yeah.
You're trying to get your girlfriend to buy you Viagra. Great.
I was like, yo, there's this really cool
Put
game
that on the marquee game. Yeah.
Anyway, I'm Cameron James. That's just Matt. That's Alex Morales. Until next time, we're out.
Bye.